What's up, everybody? What's up, fellas? Wake Up Mintzy, Monday morning. Probably a lot less energy than you're used to, but we got Dude Whites, we got Stella Blue. I'm drinking some iced coffee, try to cheer myself up. Thank you, Big Cat. Not going to sugarcoat it, boys. We're still really, really, really hurting from what happened in the swamp on Saturday at the Ole Miss Rebels. I just had to buy in. I just had to run my mouth all week. I'm not worried about Florida, even though the game's on the road in the swamp. And DJ Lagway looked good and beat LSU. Man, I'm trying to be positive here, but this one really, really stings. It's going to sting for a long time. Everybody knew it was at stake with Ole Miss. Spent God knows how much money on that roster. You look back at the season. You spent. What's up, Moody? Spend God knows how much money on that roster and ultimately come up short. Loses the 13-point favorite in the swamp. Can't make the playoffs. I'm just so heartbroken. There's no getting around it. Watched the game with Nikki Smokes and Jacob at the Florida bar. Joe's on weed. It was, I don't know, man. I'm at a loss. I'm trying to, I feel like those of y'all that know me, I try to put like a positive spin on everything, and I'm a big positive energy guy. I got nothing here. I just got my heart ripped out and shattered into a million pieces. And you look back on the scope of this Ole Miss season, you just had to, blew the Kentucky game in late September completely, gutted me because it was obviously should have won that. Then what went down in Baton Rouge just choked that game, hurt it from the LSU fans. That was heartbreaking. And, literally, I was done after LSU. I was just like, whatever. I got nothing left. And then Ole Miss, plays crappy first half against Oklahoma, ends up beating them by 12. And then the Arkansas game, Ole Miss whips Arkansas's ass. I'm like, maybe it's time to buy back in if we can beat Georgia at home. Then you have the greatest weekend I've ever had at Ole Miss with the Barstool show and Ole Miss killing Georgia. I took the Ole Miss 35-1. I ate the cheese. National title bet. Bought all the way back in. And you just got to win one game in the swamp. And just the roller coaster of it, heart ripped out Kentucky, just shattered in Baton Rouge. I'm done. I'm just like, whatever. I'm going to sit back, be a fan, not get too emotional. The Arkansas game gets my hopes up. And then the Georgia game, you have the best weekend ever. You fully buy in. Only to just get curbed, just stomped. And it's tough, man. Like I said, I preach the positive energy and finding the good and everything, but there's no good in this. There's no good for an Ole Miss fan. You're going to go 9-3, and the program's come a long way if you're going 9-3 and you're disappointed. And Lane's going to be 10-2, 8-4, 9-3, or 10-2, 8-4, 10-2, 9-3 last 4 years. Awesome stretch for Ole Miss. You can give all the moral victory speeches you want, but when you spend as much money as Ole Miss spent on this roster and you had that favorable of a schedule and you had to win basically one game to get a home playoff game, man, Moody, it's tough.
Listen, I'm hurting with you because I had the Ole Miss national championship ticket before the season, so I was riding the wave. You had me so convinced prior to the season that I just had to buy in. But here is the funniest or maybe most ironic thing of the entire thing, is that last week on the show, you said multiple times, repeatedly, that you were not worried about this game, that you guys would beat Florida. There was no concern with Florida. What do you have to say about that now?
I was very, very wrong. And like I said, going into last week, at first I was nervous about it, and then by Tuesday or Wednesday, I was like, DJ Lagway can't move. He's got the hamstring injury. Ole Miss is going to be fine. And then, right after the game kicked off and Florida got up, I tweeted, I'm like, I no longer feel great about this football game. But look, when you look at the Ole Miss side of it, there's no excuses to be made. Ole Miss choked. You should have kicked the field goal on 4th and 2 at their 19 early. You get stopped. Pegues, you have him running short yardage, a 330-pound defensive tackle. What's he doing running off tackle? Just run him in the middle of the line. He ran off tackle 3 times and got stopped short on 4th down multiple times in that game. Why is he not just running into the middle? What are you going to have, a 330-pound dude running off tackle? What's going on? And Then the Jackson Dart thing, who was a warrior for Ole Miss. Look, I hate to put everything on him, but 3 interceptions the last 2 drives. I mean, he just kept throwing it to the other team when it mattered most. And Florida deserved to win the game. Ole Miss doesn't deserve playoffs. I'm not sitting here making any excuses. I mean, you lost 3 games where you were big favorite against Kentucky and Florida, 3.5-point favorite against LSU. You have 3 bad losses. I mean, just
where does this rank as far as losses for your favorite teams? I'm sure the Saints losing to the Rams.
Oh, the 18 NFC Championship game. I tweeted that this was the most painful since then. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is in the Ole Miss top 5 for sure. Yeah. I think the Ole Miss top 5 is LSU 03 that cost Ole Miss the SEC championship when LSU won it all. That's number 1. Some form of, God, this has got to be like up there. I mean, you know, you look at like 2014 Auburn when Treadwell snapped his leg when Ole Miss was top 3 running in the end zone. 2015, the Hunter Henry 4th and 25 that cost Ole Miss making the SEC championship. But this one, with the playoffs at stake, maybe even more than those. I mean, the thing is, it's just like different when you're not at the game, because I was at those games, and that makes it even more painful. But considering the stakes, I mean, this is way up there. That LSU one this year was horrible, too. Horrible. You were at that. Horrible.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm trying to give myself, like, you know, you always try to look for the good in everything. And like I said, Ole Miss's program's come a long way. And, you know, Lane's done a spectacular job. I mean, when he took this over in 2020, like, there was nothing. So you got to be, you know, I don't know, man. I'm really shook today. But I'm in here facing the music, which is what you got to do.
You are indeed stepping up facing the music. I'll give you credit. You always seem to do that.
I have to at this job.
Yeah, very true. One positive, though, is that you're the hottest bettor on the planet right now, Mintz. I mean, let's be honest about it. I was telling people at the fights the other night, like I tailed all of your picks on Saturday, by the way. Had all of them. Hit the first. I also added Kansas to my parlay. Mintz hit the first 6. And then we came down to UCLA needing to cover by 5 against USC. They lost the game by 6 points.
They were up 13-9. They were up 13. Yeah. They were up 13-9.
I had 10 to 1,500, and all I needed was that 1 point from UCLA to cover the final leg. Didn't happen. But I want to give you credit because you're freaking on fire. You're probably the hottest bettor on the planet right now. And I know that's not a good enough consolation prize for Ole Miss losing. But let's talk about it because you're freaking smoking right now.
Well, okay, so I missed the 35-1 parlay. My Sunday night football parlay last night. I had DeMarcus Robinson touchdown, Kyron Williams under 73.5, and I had A.J. Brown over 119.5. A.J. Brown missed it by 11 A.J. Brown yards, Moody. Heartbreaking. And the thing was, when I was doing my parlay last night, I debated doing A.J. 100 and a touchdown versus doing 120 yards. I just sat there debating them both. I was like, ugh. But I was like, man, just because you need him to catch a longer touchdown because of how much Jalen and Barkley run it in. So I was like, man, he could have 120 and not score. So I went with that, and ultimately cost me a huge one. But you can't be mad. Look, the only thing that really matters gambling-wise, shout out DraftKings, our partner with the Stool of Ivor promotion. There were 60-something of us. It was me and Big T yesterday were the final 2. And what we did, we flipped the coin before the stream to see who got first pick. I actually studied it a ton because so much money's at stake. And the way it worked yesterday was you flip a coin, and then somebody gets first pick, somebody gets second. If both guys score or neither guy score at noon, you run it back at 3. But whoever has the second pick gets the first pick. So I win the coin toss. And Big T was shocked. I deferred to 3 o'clock. And he was like, interesting. Like, he couldn't believe I did it. But when I went through it and analyzed it yesterday, I had like 3 or 4 guys I liked at noon, and there were only 3 o'clock games. And Josh Jacobs was the only guy I liked at 3 o'clock because I didn't trust Kenneth Walker or a lot of those guys in that Arizona-Seattle game. So I was like, whatever. I'm going to take the second pick. And, you know, if Big T, if he took David Montgomery, I was taking Jahmyr Gibbs. I was fine with either one of them. Those are the 2 I was going to take. And then he took Joe Mixon first. And I actually, when I went through it, did not want Mixon yesterday because Tennessee has a good run defense. And I don't know. He wasn't, you know, I know he had the 3 touchdown game Monday against Dallas, but he was one of my fades. So when he took Mixon, I took Montgomery. And then Gibbs scores first quarter. And I'm just like, ugh, you know, because you know with Detroit, it's, hard to read. But then Montgomery got in second quarter on a hell of a touchdown run where he fell on top of a Colt spinning at the 1 yard line and got in. So it looked like it was bang, bang, but he was able to stay up. And then Mixon didn't score, and I won the free $25K bet. Stool Viver. Got to use it on a touchdown score next Sunday, so that's going to be – I've never made a $25K bet before. I mean, I'm probably going to have trouble sleeping all week. It's so big. So I got to wait till the DraftKings pricing comes out with touchdowns next week. I have a strong idea of which way I'm leaning, but I got to see the prices first. Because my thing with the touchdown thing, even though the $25K is so much money, I still don't want to use it on Derrick Henry minus 200. You know, I'm trying to hit something that, like, is even money or plus money. But, yeah, that's exciting. That's, you know, obviously exciting.
Outside of the World Series of Poker, will this be your biggest sweat as far as a bet is concerned?
Yeah, it will. I hedged out of a lot of it. I had a futures when UConn won the NCAA tournament to win like $30K in 2014 when Chapaz Napier got super hot that year. But I hedged out of a lot of it, and I ended up winning like 18 or something. But, yeah, this is my biggest ever. And, I mean, you know, it's the scene in, like, Kingpin where you're, like, crying tears into the money, you know?
Yeah.
Like my rebel tears just into the money. It's like maybe we're going to have to – I would love to be able to recreate that on Sunday. But, yeah, so I've got a good idea. That stream's going to be on fire next Sunday. Just some Barstool stuff. Our office is closed. Shout out Barstool Sports for this. It's so cool to work for a company that, like, respects the holidays because we've got so many people that work, you know, like me and lots of others that are up here working in Chicago that are from other parts of the country. And they give us Wednesday, the office being closed is such a nice thing. So this is a crazy day at Barstool. That's why we're doing a Monday Wake Up Mintzy is there's no Wednesday or Thursday show for Thanksgiving. So we're doing Monday, Tuesday this week. But I got my flight back for Sunday morning from Memphis to do for the big for the big 25K free bet on Sunday. And gonna be hard to sleep all week with that one, Moody, because I mean everybody knows like I'm a $50, $100 player. I'm always pretty transparent about it. 25 large.
Yeah, no, it's a huge bet, brother. I think anybody would be sweating that one out, unless maybe you're Dave Portnoy. While we're talking about Barstool, though, I gotta do chat justice here, and I have to bring something up. And I don't know anything about the background on this because I was kind of out of the loop all weekend. What did you do to Kate? They're asking for justice for Kate, and I need to know the story because I know you pretty well, and I know you like Kate, but I need to know what has transpired.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to publicly – I mean, I talked to her in private, but I'm going to publicly apologize because I've thought about this, and I can understand why I'm catching heat about it, and I was in the wrong, and Kate's awesome, and so I'm going to face music and eat it publicly. So what happened was she asked me to be part of the Cars.com stream on Wednesday, but I was going to have to be outside in the Cars parking lot, and it was – I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it was 20 degrees. That'd be a lie. It was like mid-40s, but the wind was whipping like 25 to 30 miles an hour. And I was out there like bundled up, and I was just like, this isn't going to work. I mean, it was like so bad. And I know I'm a bitch for that because I'm a Southern guy. But like I was out there like bundled up with like a blanket stuff. And the wind, like the Chicago wind, look, it isn't even bad when it's cold. It's just the wind here. It makes you feel like you're naked. It whips through you. And I should have been tougher. I should have worn 7 or 8 layers and just taken it. But I got out there and I was like, there's no way here with this 30-mile-an-hour wind. And so I was soft. You know, I thought about it for a while. At first I thought, oh, this probably isn't a big deal because the wind is so bad that people should understand this. But looking back on it, I should have toughed it out and been tougher and worn like 8 layers because Kate's awesome. And I talked to her privately, but I'm publicly saying I'm in the wrong here. And apologies. And then that was the theme on Saturday. Everybody was saying justice for Kate when Ole Miss lost. Like that was like karma. That was the whole thing Saturday. So I feel like
it's really unfortunate that you changed Ole Miss's fate because you.
Yeah, clearly I was the one who threw those picks those last 2 drives because of this Kate thing. But in all seriousness though, Kate's like one of the nicest and best people we have here, and I let her down, and. You know, at first, I admit, like, I thought when the wind was terrible, I'm like, look, people will understand this because, like, if you were out here, you know how bad it was. But looking back on it, I just should have sacked up and handled it differently, and I do think I was in the wrong. And you know, and the stories, they'll let you know it. And the thing that's interesting, I probably had 80 DMs like Justice for Kate, apologize to Kate. Oh, dude, I had like the Barstool thing is such a roller coaster, and like my thing, I knew this would happen. Everything went too great that Ole Miss Georgia weekend, and like the way my whole Barstool career, it's just like boom, it's just up, down, and that Georgia weekend was too great with the Ole Miss thing. It was too good. And I was like, and I said it after. I think I told you. I was like, well, we're on a high now, so who knows how we're going to crash. And then last week, like, just a combo of, like, the Kate thing. And then when Bryce Underwood flipped from LSU to Michigan and, like, Dave Portnoy did that video, now everybody in Baton Rouge is pissed at Barstool. Dude, people are coming at me because I'm associated with Dave. Like, dude, I had some dude threaten me on Twitter over an 18-year-old going to a different college. Like, you kidding me? Like, literally. Like, and I know Twitter, it's whatever. You take it not that seriously. But, like, I mean, don't threaten me. Like, come on, you know? So the Kate thing happened. Then all the LSU fans are raining on me. And then Ole Miss completely chokes. And I was like, well, you know, and I knew it was too good to be true with Georgia weekend. And so it's just the Mintzy Barstool career. Boom. Just highs and lows, just all over the place, man. But I am sorry. I legitimately am. But the Kate thing, I really am sorry. Like, I had time to think about that this weekend. And, you know, because at first I mean, of course, people are going to say I'm a selfish prick. But, I mean, it was really cold because of the wind out there. But I still, I guess the southern part of me just, I don't know. I guess I kind of didn't realize. I don't know. I thought that would be understood, and I was way wrong. And I was
so
wrong.
It's safe to say though that you hate the cold and you don't hate Kate.
Yes, I love Kate. She's one of that's why I'm so upset about it. Is like Kate's like the sweetest person here, and you know, to let her down, and I don't know. I've thought about it, and I really am apologetic about it. Nope, Stoolies aren't going to care that I say that, but well, maybe they will. But I mean, I really am. It's genuine.
I want to touch on something else you just mentioned in there is Bryce Underwood flipping from LSU to Michigan. I don't find that part of it to be too crazy in this new NIL world where money's flying around.
You know, he's from Michigan.
He's also from there. Right. I don't find any of that part to be too crazy. But I'll tell you what I do find absolutely insane is how the hell Connor Stallions ended up at this dude's school as one of his coaches after everything that happened last year. Who the hell is hiring Connor Stallions? How the hell did he get there? I mean, this guy, honestly, I had no respect for him at first. He gained a little bit of respect because this is the ultimate con man. I mean, this is incredible work. I got to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that is a wild coincidence.
It's insane.
You believe in them. Yeah. Well, what really
happened?
It's not
a coincidence.
I know. Well, so what really happened? Dave talked about it. Like, Dave said he had a tiny party. Like, everybody, like, Dave did that video gloating about getting him, and so everybody just said Dave bought him. But what really happened was Larry Ellison's like one of the like 5 richest people in America. And I think he's like got a wife that went to Michigan or somebody's going to marry. And Moody, how crazy is this? Think about having this much money. Like most people for Christmas, what do you give them? A trip? Some jewelry? This dude gives his wife the number 1 quarterback in the country. In Michigan. She's a Michigan alum. This dude's so rich. Like he didn't even go to Michigan. But he's like, I'm going to make my significant other happy by this crazy offer. He got like $12.5 million, I heard, to go to Michigan. Like most people get a trip or jewelry or something nice. She gets the number 1 quarterback. I mean, like, what? Because that's what really happened. I mean, like Dave said, he was like Dave. I texted Dave about it, and I was just like, man, these LSU fans, you really broke them with this deal. And he said, I'm just a cog in the wheel, was what Dave said. And that makes sense.
Yeah, but I just found the Connor Stallions part of it to be fascinating. The fact that he ended up at this kid's high school just happens to be the number 1 recruit in which Michigan is trying to flip. There is no coincidence there, in my opinion.
No,
but
no.
You got to tip the cap.
No, but the LSU thing, though, look, everybody's panicking last week, and I kind of probably poured some gas on the fire. But realistically, Nussmeier can come back another year, We've seen these LSU quarterbacks. I'm not saying he's Burrow or Jaden Daniels. He's not. But both of them were, okay to pretty good their first year, and then their second year they made that huge leap. Both of them did that. Another year with Nussmeier, upgrade some weapons around him. He's a real good quarterback, I think, especially in his second year. So I don't think it's totally the sky's falling at LSU. And, LSU had a solid bounce-back win against Vandy on Saturday. I mean, they're going to probably finish 8-4. So, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things, you can over-panic to a high school quarterback flipping, but, that doesn't mean, LSU got Daniels and Burrow out of the transfer portal. I don't know. I think this probably isn't the end of the world.
Well, here in Louisiana, the sky is falling for all the LSU fans. I know what's happening right now for Ole Miss fans, but LSU fans, they want Brian Kelly fired. They're ready to move on. I think they're a little bit dumb. I think they're a little bit short-sighted in this. This is one of the better coaches in college football. I think they're going to be fine. I think he deserves another year in Baton Rouge. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, he's got a $61 million buyout, so they can yell fire Brian Kelly. When Vandy scored, Moody, to start that game, when Vandy got up 7-0 on that bomb at the beginning of the game, there was a huge fire Brian Kelly chant in Death Valley Saturday night. But, that's not going to happen. Look, you look at this Kelly era. He went 9-3, won the SEC West his first year, beat Bama. Second year, I know it was disappointing last year because you had a historic offense with Daniels and Neighbors and Brian Thomas. 9-3, won the Heisman Trophy. And this year, you beat Oklahoma, you end up 8-4. This was not supposed to be some great LSU team this year at all. Going into the year, this is probably the least amount of NFL talent I can remember on an LSU team. And you're going to go 8-4. It just the way it went down this year is what got them. They weren't supposed, they had the USC disappointing week 1 loss, but then it was the Ole Miss win, and then they won at Arkansas to get to 6-1, and it got everybody thinking playoffs. This team was never supposed to be that good. And obviously the way the Bama game went down, just getting curb stomped like that. But, they finished 8-4 in a rebuilding year. I think people are just overreacting. And, they're recruiting well too. So, I don't know. I kind of think the sky's not falling in Baton Rouge. And they're just a very, very, very delusional fan base, which anyone that isn't a part of it understands. So that's kind of
I get to see it front seat. Obviously, I don't have an SEC team. But I got a front row seat to the LSU fans and how they overreact. I will say, and you mentioned something interesting in there, though. This is the least amount of NFL talent you've seen on an LSU team. And a lot of people think that is a fireable offense because Brian Kelly is not getting quite the talent, especially on the defensive side of the football, that LSU was once getting.
Yeah, I agree. He really screwed up with that Matt House defensive coordinator hire the first 2 years, and they had a pretty good defense the first year, but they're recruiting really well again. Now they got Blake Baker there, and as long as he's getting the recruits again, and then they upgraded the staff. I think people are overreacting. The sky's not falling in Baton Rouge.
I agree.
Some other college football stuff to get into. The Indiana thing, can't say I'm shocked.
You called it.
Well, just looking at it, when they only got 246 yards against Michigan, I was like, writing's on the wall. They're still going to make the playoffs because everybody else lost Saturday. All they got to do is beat Purdue, and it's a great story. But they're a top 15, top 20 football team. I'll give them that. But they just, the 2 times they've stepped up in competition against Michigan, and Ohio State, they haven't been able to move the ball at all. So I think it is what it is. The Bama thing, that was a terrible loss for Bama at Oklahoma. Terrible. You got an Oklahoma team that does have a good defense, but really can't move the ball at all. What's crazy, Moody, is with all the losses, Bama actually still has a playoff path here at 3 losses because their resume is better than Ole Miss's. They both have the Georgia win, but Ole Miss's loss, especially at home to Kentucky, is the worst. Bama lost at Vandy, at Tennessee, and now at Oklahoma. Bama's got a better resume than Ole Miss. If it comes head-to-head, Bama's going to get in. But the big thing now is, got to cheer for Tennessee to lose to Vandy, I think. But the playoffs thing is wide open. Boise freaking almost lost to Wyoming, and they're looking at getting a 4 seed, which is crazy. But looking around, Indiana's still going to get an 11-1. Penn State and Notre Dame are both good. Tennessee's now good if they beat Vandy for sure. I think Texas is now in even with a loss at A&M with all these people losing. I think 10-2 Texas gets in.
By the way, you called that A&M thing. You said, I mean, you thought they might lose on
Yeah, and
Saturday.
I
And sure
still think
enough,
they're
the
going to. I
Aggies
still
coughed
think.
it up, man.
I think they're going to be. I still think they're going to beat Texas, but I think Texas can get in the playoffs either way now. That A&M Auburn game though, did you see that game?
No, I had fights Saturday night, so I didn't watch much college football.
Well, at 4 overtimes, and A&M ran the Philly special, and dude just dropped it in the end zone to lose. I mean,
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was tough, but it was a great game at Auburn. Freeze usually gets one of those, and Auburn's kind of been like as bad of a year as they've had. They've been in so many games they should have won. They're not good, but they're not horrible. Is basically what I'd say. And I'm curious to see if they fight Bama in the Iron Bowl this week. I don't think they can win at Bama. If the game was at Auburn, I think they'd have a shot. But at Bama, I don't think they can win. But I'm curious to see how much they fight because this rivalry games, man, you never know. You never know for sure. A&M out of the playoffs now for sure with 3 losses. Still got a lot to play for, though. Texas coming in. First time they played them at home since 2011. That's going to be crazy. And I think A&M, home dog, lost as a road favorite. I always like that trend. I think I'm going to be on A&M this week.
No, I think it should be a really good game. By the way, chat, if y'all have anything, we're just kind of chilling, chatting on this Monday morning. Feel free to fire away on the chat.
Let's put together a parlay for tonight, Moody.
All right, let's put together a parlay for tonight. By the way, chat is still on your ass about the game. Apology semi-accepted, I suppose. And then Chris Womack was saying it's not that loud in Baton Rouge about BK being fired. It's just on a small minority on Tiger droppings. Every time I open my Facebook right now, these LSU fans are calling for Brian Kelly. So it's a little bit more than just Tiger droppings.
Well, dude, I mean, he's like, and I actually give him credit for bouncing back. That was a good win against Vandy, I mean, that was a spot where if the sky was falling, you lose that game. If you lose that game, then I get it more. But, they had a lot of noise outside that building last week, and they were able to put together a solid win. So I'm gonna give him some credit for that. All right, let's try to put something together. Ravens Chargers tonight, same game parlay. God, I'm so mad, Moody. That one last night, man, so close.
That's tough.
Yeah, I always go for the moon on the alternate yardage stuff, and man, I went for the 120 on AJ instead of that 100 and touchdown, and that was what got me. How about, hey, we hadn't even talked about the Saquon thing. You see, he went from 40-1 MVP to 10-1 last night.
Oh, I watched my fantasy teams that went from having a 5% chance of winning to winning the week last night because of Saquon Barkley. So I mean, I love it, man. What a performance by him.
310, 255 rushing, 47 receiving, and 2 touchdowns?
An all-time game, to be honest. I mean, and we're watching the Giants. It's so funny watching the Giants trend in the wrong direction, make every wrong move possible as a franchise, and then you've got Saquon who's just doing his thing, balling out, proving that it was not him that was the problem, and he was the only real talent in New York and having a career year now in Philadelphia. It's good to watch for Saquon, who appears to be a pretty good guy and a dude that puts in the work.
Yeah, no doubt. And this Philly team, I mean, I saw Jordy Barstool blogger in Philly had this tweet. He's right. He was like, thank God there's such idiotic GMs that let A.J. Brown go from Tennessee and Barkley go from the Giants. I mean, how do you let those guys go?
What about Tennessee at one point having DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry all on the same team for them to really get?
They never had D-Hop on that team.
Weren't they all at the same?
I think they got D-Hop. They got D-Hop. They got D-Hop later. No, they had A.J. Brown. Who was their number 2 receiver? They had Corey Davis. They had somebody else. They had somebody else that was okay. But anyway, look at it tonight. Ravens 2.5-point favorite over under 51. The Harbaugh Bowl here, part 2, not the Super Bowl. I don't really have an opinion on that Ravens 2.5. Do you? I mean, it's a sketchy road favorite line. The Ravens aren't a bounce back spot off that Steelers loss, though.
I would lean Chargers in this spot just because they're at home, and as you mentioned, it is kind of a weird line.
Could you see? Okay,
the Chargers are a little better than people realize. It's a talented football team.
Well, this is interesting to me. When you got the Harbaughs, there's so much shared information in this game with the coaching staffs. Mm-hmm. Greg Roman, the OC for the Chargers, is the old Ravens OC. You've got just so much. I mean, you got Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, who were Ravens last year. There's so much weird commingling interest. Could you see this game being an under because of that sometimes? I know it's a fast track, and the thing is the Ravens' pass D hadn't been great. And So, but I mean, like, I feel like sometimes in this spot, this might be like not the shootout people think it is, but I could be wrong.
I could see it being an under just because the Chargers don't really play high scoring games. I mean, their
They
defense
just played
is
that
stout.
wild
They run
one
the
against the
football.
Bengals. They just
But
played
outside
that
of that, they have not played many though. Like that was one of the few high scoring wild affairs that they played this year. So I could see this going under just because that's simply the kind of games the Chargers have played for the most part.
All right. Well, we're going the game lines thing. I think first we're going to put together. So DraftKings has the super boost on the Monday night games. Let's see what I got. It's a 50% boost on a $25 bet. It's got to be at least a 3-leg parlay. All right. First leg, then we've already just decided it. Let's go under is the first leg, Moody. But I think, I always am trying to boost these things.
They have one game this season over 44 points.
I think we go. Crazy. You want to go under 44.5 to try to get good odds?
Yeah, that's your call. Our trust is in you right now.
All right, we're gonna go under 44.5. Is the first one at plus 172. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
All right, I'm looking at the touchdown scores. Can't go Henry at minus 210. It's too much. I know he scored every week, but like that doesn't help our odds. Do I every week the Quentin Johnson thing?
I was going to say Quentin Johnson.
He scores every week. He's plus 2. They still hadn't changed his pricing. He scored he had an ankle injury. He missed 3 or 4 games. He scored almost every week this year, and the Ravens passed these bad. So I think we throw the Quentin Johnson plus 210.
I think we throw Quentin Johnson on there, and I would also add that Ladd McConkey has been out the entire week of practice. He may not play. He's very questionable to play tonight. Like, he is not a shoe-in to be in the lineup. I think that's going to put the ball in Quentin Johnson's hands even more. Quentin Johnson was the number one guy I was going to throw out as a touchdown scorer as well.
Okay, so I got him plus 210. So we're at 10-1 right now on 2 teams, on 2 guys.
Okay.
McConkey is playing because his props are up, but he was hurt with the shoulder injury. So I would either not play. I'd either bet his under, or we could think about taking his under. McConkey's over under is I'm looking at receiving yards is 67.5, and playing with a hurt shoulder. Quentin Johnson's 49.5. But I feel like
interesting.
But I feel like when you do these parlays, the thing is with the parlays, like you're going to get better odds if you go under McConkey here than over Quentin Johnson on the correlate thing. Because if you already have Quentin Johnson TD, if you take his over, it isn't going to help your odds. Let's see. Any opinion? Like Lamar, I don't want to bet against his rushing on the turf. He can just
definitely do not do that. No.
If you go under McConkey, so if we go under McConkey 67.5, under 44.5, Quentin Johnson at 17-1. It's not bad.
I don't hate it.
I mean, McConkey does have a hurt shoulder. I know he gets a lot of targets though.
There's a chance he doesn't even play tonight though, and that's just going to go ahead and void that leg of our bet if he doesn't play. So we need to keep that part in mind as well.
Okay, well then let's find something else as a third. I like the under 44.5, and I like the Quentin Johnson touchdown. Do you have any other thoughts?
Not necessarily. I mean, those are kind of the guys I was leaning to. What do the rushing yards look like for Derrick Henry? I could see maybe ripping it's 85. I feel like that's kind of low for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, it's also turf. Like I said, the thing is these turf games make it easier to bust long ones. And if he just busts one long one, I know what you mean. I think the Chargers are going to stack up Henry tonight, and they do have a good run defense. But I mean, we could go under Henry here.
Let's see what it does for the odds.
Henry's is 84.5.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, 17-1. But that's without the boost. With the boost, it's 25-1. I don't know. Are there any other random props you like?
No, it just doesn't. It feels dumb betting against Derrick Henry, though, doesn't it?
I know.
Like, it just feels bad. Like I'm just sitting there looking at Derrick Henry under, and it doesn't feel like a play.
Yeah, the Quentin Johnson thing. Like we could go. Let's see what I'm going to mess around with his receiving yards. Let's see what his. If you go, let me see what his receiving yards thing does. If you go, Quentin Johnson over 60 receiving yards, a touchdown, and then under 44.5, 19-1.
I love it. I then put the boost on there, be at like 25 probably.
Let me see. I'm adding the boost. 28.50.
Yep. I mean, I think that's pretty good odds. We don't need a ton to happen there. We just need
you just need him to catch a touchdown and then
plays well.
All right, I think that's it.
Oh, I'm with it. All right,
plus 28.50 or plus 3. No, it's 30 to 1. All right, we're punching it in. We'll put it out on Wake Up Mintzy social too. 25 to win 750. Quentin Johnson over 59.5 yards, a touchdown, and under. I'm thinking about doing. Should we do 45.5 or 44?
I'll be honest. I put 47.5 on mine, but that lowered my odds. So that's just me being a little slightly.
I'm going to go for. I'm going to move it to 45.5 just for that extra point.
Yeah.
Because I get the thing on these parlays, I sometimes get a little greedy, and that's what got me on that H.A. Brown thing.
Well, I feel like I like that number 47.
45.5 is like 24-21, you know?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Because now it's 27 to 1. We didn't lose much off it.
Still pretty good, though.
All right, we're going. That's where we're going. And y'all ride with us. I'm putting this out on social.
Read it out for the chat one more time.
All right, for the chat. Under 45.5. Quentin Johnson, anytime touchdown scorer. Quentin Johnson over 59.5 receiving.
Love it.
Plus 27 to 1. Putting it in. I like it. All right, we're in. That's the Wake Up Mintzy parlay for tonight. I mean, I like the Quentin Johnson thing. The Ravens allow a lot of passing yards. He scores every game. I mean, he scores. I don't understand how he's over 2 to 1 to score. Still, he scores like every game that he's healthy. Literally.
No, he's been great. He's saved my ass in fantasy in a couple of my leagues. I mean, he's a real dude, and especially if Ladd McConkey hasn't practiced this entire week, you have to think that a big part of this game plan is designed around Quentin Johnson against this Ravens pass defense,
which is definitely their weakness. So we're gonna go with that for tonight. Like I said, had a pretty good gamble weekend. Man, it just sucks. I barely missed a couple parlays yesterday, or it could have been great, but that's how it goes, man. These parlays are shooting for the moon. Almost hit the Sunday night one. I had another one during the Miami game that looked really good. I had Jonnu Smith touchdown, Jonnu Smith over 59.5 receiving, Tua over 300, and then I had A-Chain over 39.5 receiving. And he had 24 and a touchdown, but then he got banged up, and they pulled him out of the game in the third quarter, so I cashed out at like 4 to 1. And they ended up putting him back into the fourth quarter, but he didn't get there. But like when he got banged up and they were up big, I was like, man, he ain't gonna play again, you know?
Yeah.
So that one was close, but other than that, I didn't really hit anything.
Well, you cooked on Saturday though, because I mean, you hit.
Yeah, no, my picks are good. Yeah. Well, I was big on Arizona State against BYU. What a wild game! Did you see that Arizona State BYU?
I didn't. Again, I was bad fights.
Well, dude, with 1 second left, the Arizona State stormed the field, but there was actually 1 second left when their quarterback chunked it in the stands on a fourth down. So BYU, they had to clear the field, and BYU ended up getting a Hail Mary that they knocked down. But it was like a wild scene. And then Kenny Dillingham, there's this crazy scene where Kenny Dillingham's like screaming at the ref that the clock was out. And my friend Taylor McGregor was the sideline reporter, my friend, and there's this scene where he's just yelling F-bombs at the ref, and she's just sitting right there with these like funny facial expressions. It was just an unreal scene, but it was really funny. But yeah, that was a crazy scene. I had Louisville big against Pitt, and that hit. And Sunday, I took the Miami-Florida second half because like Miami was only up by 3 on Wake at the half, and that's how they have these close first halves. They end up blowing them out like they always do. So those are all positives. My dumbass took Ole Miss laying 13, which is just there's just no. I mean, I deserve to lose. You know, that was such a homer, just shitty sucker bet by me. But in NFL, I had a good college day. Went like 5-2. NFL, I went 2-2, but I had 2 units on Miami, so I was like a slight winner. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was pretty much the same in the NFL. I went 4-4, or plus the LSU game. I was like 4-4 this weekend. 6-1 last week, 4-4 this week. Kind of just a meh week. I also just added Quentin Johnson first touchdown score at 15 to 1. So I just threw a little extra action on that just to have me a first touchdown score. I like to play first touchdown scores, kind of small. Just
I think it's fun on like the primetime games.
Agreed,
you know,
100%.
Small bets, $10 bets even. Like I usually do 25.
That's 5. I put 5 on it. Yeah, not very much.
Yeah, but small, like just to watch.
Dead just like that.
Yeah, like quick thrill. No, I like that.
I'll tell you something else I've been doing for fun is taking like 2 or 3 first touchdown scores and putting them together for like $1 to win like 1,500. it's going to hit at some point. At least I'm going to keep telling myself it's going to hit at some point.
I like that. Well, cool. Well, we're gonna, like I said, funny day in the Barstool office because with the office being closed Wednesday through Friday, this thing is just jammed today. Everybody's getting in their shows, so today will be a wild day all over the office because I think people are kind of clearing out tomorrow afternoon. So today will be nuts around the stool as always. I'm still heartbroken from Ole Miss, but I am excited about the 25K stool Viver bet. And let's hit this Monday Night Football parlay. DraftKings DK partner. Love DraftKings, obviously. And shout out to Dude Wipes. Too bad Dude Wipes can clean up all messes. Probably can't clean up this Ole Miss mess, unfortunately. But let it rip with Dude Wipes. Got new holiday products out. Target, Walmart, Amazon. You find them all over the World Wide Web. It's a revolution. Great product with Dude Wipes. And Stella Blues got some ugly sweaters coming out for Black Friday. So be on the lookout for that. I will see y'all tomorrow. We'll be out of, we'll get out of here. Let's have a day. Try to make the best of this crappy Monday morning. Time to go to work again. Man, I love fall. The leaves are changing, football, and Stella Blue coffee. And this season, maple pumpkin pie. But my morning routine would not be complete without Dumpkin Spice Dude Wipes.
Oh, Mintzy, let it rip.
Cheers, furry fellas. Coffee that fuels you, wipes that clean you.